Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I just heard this morning at about 4:45, and I really like this. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. And today, the first day of spring, is a gift. Good morning, everybody. Put a smile on your face. Here comes Zeb Bell. It's Zeb at the Ranch, and right now, Kate Smith with God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Come on, Patriots, with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. Oh, my goodness, have I got spring fever. Look at that beautiful sunshine outside. Zeb at the Ranch, and brought to you by our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a great big spring tire sale going on right now at all 7 locations. Stop in and see them today, along with our other great advertisers, one of which is Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and celebrate the first day of spring with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jerry, God bless you, man. Thank you for helping us this morning, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you much.
I hope you have a wonderful day, too, and may the Lord bless you and all your family that listens to you.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much. And right now it's time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Right there. Couldn't miss it if you wanted to on the Burley-Paul Highway. Oh, my goodness. A whole front yard just full of tools and equipment over there at K&R Rental. You know, it is springtime. I can say that officially today, even though I'm still confused as to why it bumped a day ahead instead of the 21st, but we'll talk about that in a minute. They've got all the tools and equipment to finish any kind of a job, so get a hold of them today. Roger and the crew at K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
What's going to be like for the first day of spring and for the supermoon tonight? Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies today, a little bit of a breeze out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 22 miles an hour. Sunny skies, expecting a high of 61. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 32. By tomorrow, clouds are going to be rolling into the valley, expecting a high of 57. And then for tomorrow night, 20% chance of showers before midnight. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 34. As we take a look at the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we do have a slight chance of rain showers in the forecast, mostly in the afternoon. Clouds will be sticking around. Winds are going to be picking up just a little bit, and we do have a 30% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the mid-50s. And that's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and thank you to Roger and the crew over at K&R Rental. They get there early in the morning, especially now that you are up and about and you've got jobs to do. So by golly, remember the best of rental of the tools and equipment you need. Not sure what you need? Well, don't be embarrassed about that. Give them a call and find out. 678-3122. That number again, 678-3122. K&R Rental on the Burley-Paul Highway. We have got a busy day today. Man, we've got great guests coming on as usual. I'm going to remind you about a couple of those things in just a moment, but first and foremost, I also want to remind you about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Don't forget the best at what they do. That's not brag, that's a fact. Over 6 decades. Wow. Over 60 years of serving you with the best of heating, cooling, and electrical needs, and also very efficient, knowledgeable people. Well, you can't beat that, and that's indicative as to why they've been in business for over 6 decades. Don't forget they provide warm winters and cool summers. For anything you need, stop in 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, or give them a call at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Okay, today is the first day of spring. Now, I want to be fair about this, and the reason it rose to my attention on Monday when Gina said Thursday, the first day of spring, which I thought too Thursday was the first day of spring, being the 21st. Howsomever, in my calendar books and everything, I got to look at it, it all says today is the first day of spring. And here's one of the scientific reasons as to why we've had a change. Another reason that the Earth's elliptical orbit is changing its orientation, which causes the Earth's axis to constantly point in a different direction, called precession. Since the seasons are defined as beginning at strict 90-degree intervals, those positional changes affect the time the Earth reaches each 90-degree location in its orbit around the sun. Huh? That's why we're celebrating the first day of spring today. I can't take it any further than that. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I am excited. Tomorrow's going to be Lunch Bunch Day, and we're going to celebrate. Everybody's going to wear green. Call your friends and neighbors, Aunt Martha, Uncle Fred, everybody. Get them to be there at Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant tomorrow at 11:30, and the person that wears the most green and looks more like a little leprechaun, I'm going to buy your lunch. I am. I feel good-hearted. Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley, and they've got another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. They are America's diner, and they want to serve you with the best of food and really nice people. Stop in and see them today at Denny's Restaurant. And do not forget tomorrow, our thanks also to our Lunch Bunch gift certificate sponsors, Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes, Doug Martin, Denny's. Lunch Bunch tomorrow at Denny's at 11:30. Please be there. We would appreciate it. All right, I've got a question. And I really need some help on this because I don't understand how these things work, okay? You see the advertisements on television for the walk-in tubs. So I'm sure that there's somebody in the audience that has a walk-in tub. Now, when you fill them up, after you're in there, you've closed the door, you're sitting in an abundance of water. I do not know the gallons, but you're in quite a bit of water. Now, my question is this. Every time I see that ad on TV, and I'm not trying to sound crass, but what happens when all of a sudden you say to yourself, I have to go to the bathroom, or someone's at the door, or you have a very important phone call, or whatever the emergency, how do you get out of them? And some people are not physically able to climb over the top, or they wouldn't have the walk-in tub in the first place. But how are you going to get out of them? You can't just open the door, because doing that would cause a lot of damage, water damage and everything. You'd have a flood. But what do? You wait till it drains out before you can answer to that respective emergency? Somebody call me and let me know. I'm an inquiring mind that wants to know. I've thought about this quite a bit because every time I see the ad on TV, I get to wondering, like, what happens if they have an emergency and they have to get out? Are you going to wait till that all drains out of there before you can open the door? Somebody call me at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting, I will tell you about Burley. I got a call. Just hang on a second there. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. These are really good people. I was supposed to be there yesterday and had to cancel out because I'm going to be going in for some injections. And so we're going to wait a day or two, then start up again with Nick Greenwell and all the crew over there at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. They know all the exercises. They've got the only hydrotherapy pool of its kind in the area, and they can help you get back to being you. Call them today for an appointment, 678-1191, 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zebedee, I don't know the answer to your quiz there, but I can be assured of one thing. If you need to practice this thing before you get your tub, you might go out to the water trough.
Bob, now seriously, come on. Don't take me outside of the water trough. Just give me an honest answer. In your opinion, how in the world would someone that has an emergency get out of that thing without waiting for the drainage of that entire water supply, which is a lot of water? How do you get out of there if you don't open the door? I mean, if you open that door, you got a wreck.
I don't know. I'm not wealthy enough to have one of them things, so I haven't ever worried about it.
Well,
get out of the shower with a little teeny bit of water on the
well, it's one of these
problems,
I know I do, but, really, when you look at television and you study the things that are going on around your life, don't you at times have inquiring questions as to how in the devil is this going to work if a problem comes up?
Well, after I see Terry Bradshaw in one of them things, I don't worry about a thing. Everything will be okay.
No, I'm going to tell you, it was the opposite with me. When I saw Bradshaw in one of those tubs, it scared me to death to the point where I'd never buy one.
Well, have fun with your experiment.
All right, my friend.
I want to see it live on TV. See you, Zeb.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. No, talking about Terry Bradshaw, I got to give Bradshaw credit. I've met Bradshaw on a couple of occasions, and he's got the biggest hands of any man I've ever met. I mean, I've got big hands, but Bradshaw's hands make mine look like they're just little mittens. And I met him about 10 years ago, and then I've seen him on various other occasions and visited with him. Nice guy, but he's done very well with his pitchman jobs on various advertisements like the tubs, etc. But I really want to know, come on, somebody out there in the audience, and I'm really serious about this, has got to have one of those tubs that really fills up with a lot of water. And then you get in, well, you got to get in first and shut the door. But what do you do in an emergency? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Ah, boy. Let's not forget, it's irrigation season. Oh, my. And farmers, I know my son-in-law and everybody, they've hit the fields, man. They are out there in the John Deeres right now going up and down, up and down, up and down. And that means irrigation season. And for the best of all your irrigation needs, don't forget Rain for Rent. With Jake and the whole crew at Rain for Rent at 134 South, 600 West of Paul. Number to call, they are waiting to serve you, 438-5065. They're open there 8 to 5, but during irrigation season, the hours are irrelevant. They'll be there when you need them. And they are a Reinke Diamond dealer with a dedicated sales and service staff. You get a hold of them today. The best. Rain for Rent in Paul. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb. I know somebody who had one of those up. and they thought it was the greatest thing since whatever. And then one time they were in the tub, and the doorbell rang, and then pretty soon their phone rang. Well, so somebody wanted to see them. You have to wait until that is mostly empty, because the door to let you out of that tub won't open until there's not water in it.
Well, now let me ask you this. How many gallons of water do you need to fill one of those puppies?
Well, I don't know. I don't have any idea about that. But they're not as big as they look.
Oh.
Yeah. You're not going to get yourself and 3 grandkids into the tub.
Well, no, but now Terry Bradshaw is about 6'4" and weighs right now about 275. He's a big guy, and he gets himself into that tub, and it looks relatively large.
Well, then the one that I know of was not, but the person that had it didn't need a great big one. So I'm sure there's various sizes. But imagine the gallons of water.
You know, that's the thing that Deanne and I talked about, and I don't mean to beleaguer this situation, but every day, if you're worried about water conservation and you fill that up every day, I take a shower every night and sometimes also in the morning, I don't understand how you can use that much water.
Well, I don't think I don't know that it's all that good of a thing to buy. And I do know that wherever I did use one of them, my 2 kids were with me, and when we turned, opened the thing to get rid of the water, they nearly froze by the time we could open the door because they were warm.
You know, that's another point.
Yeah.
That's another really good point. I'm glad you brought that up, waiting for that son of a gun to drain. Chris, I got another call waiting, but just take the shower or the tub, Chris.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I'm in the shower in 9 minutes.
Okay, thanks. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't go away. Do not pass go, but get the $200 if you would. Stand by a minute. Don't forget, every Monday, we give away a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox at 530 E Street in Rupert. Oh, what a delicious bakery. Oh, my, what a great restaurant. Stop over there and just enjoy. And we really thank them for helping with the dozen cookies we give away every Monday on Zeb at the Ranch. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning to you. It's the Yummy Man.
Yes, sir.
At the Burley Senior Center today. We're having chicken fried steak, mashed taters and gravy, mixed vegetables and fruit, and yummy chocolate cake. I don't know what kind of frosting, but if Deb does it, it'll be good.
Well, normally on chocolate, what's your favorite cake, Joe?
Any kind that's got frosting.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I love 3-layered vanilla cake with that, what do they call that, kind of a custard frosting or whatever? Oh, I love that.
Well, I never had any bad cake, so I don't have a favorite.
All right. Well, we'll send everybody over to the Senior Center on Overland, and you can get your dinners for $5. It's great eating at a very, very fair price. Thank you, Joe. God bless you.
Yeah, you won't go away hungry. Have a good one.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much. Joe Taylor, good guy right there. Come on, there's got to be, Deanne, nobody knows about these tubs too much. Chris called and said that wasn't a very good experience to get in the water because she about froze to death by the time the thing finally drained. But what do? You can't open the door. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587 on this first day of spring. And also last night, March Madness kind of kicked off, and it's in full swing today, man. The best of college basketball, and I mean the best of college basketball, is going to reign supreme for the next couple of weeks, and enjoy. Speaking about reigning supreme, Ark Animal Hospital, man, they really take care of your pets and your animals. Now, if you got itty-bitty kitty cats, or you got little puppy dogs, whatever, or a whole bunch of dairy cattle, horses, whatever, mixed animal practice that wants to make sure your pets and livestock stay healthy. Yes, going into spring, make sure they've got all the vaccinations. Ark Animal Hospital, I'm choking. Ark Animal Hospital, Deanne, do this ad. No, she says. Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Heyburn. And the number to call is 678-1177. They do have the warm hearts for the cold noses. All right, now it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yesterday on the program, and I want to make this point poignantly clear. Yesterday on the program, we had Reverend Paul Thompson on the air from the East Side Baptist Church in Twin Falls. And of all my pleas to ministers and pastors around the area, he was the only one that responded, and the only one that had the nerve and the courage to speak up on what's going on with societal ills and how and why ministers and pastors can be a great assistance in maybe helping to curb some of these societal ills by sermons to the congregation. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to point the finger at any one person or church. I'm just going to say, here's my cell phone number. Write it down, and any pastor that would like to come on this program, you are more than welcome. Call me at 312-2976. I'll repeat it, 312-2976. And I certainly hope, after mentioning this today, and again maybe tomorrow, we won't hear just crickets. I certainly hope some will call. 312-2976. Calls are welcome. Give me a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There is a great big sale. I got to tell you this real quick, and then we'll take some more of your calls. And I'm going to talk to you in just a minute about age limits on the presidency. I want to hear your opinion. Bennett Boys Auction Service, Southside Community Auction, is going to be 10 o'clock this coming Saturday, March 23rd at the Filer Fairgrounds, Twin Falls County Fairgrounds, the open area right by the arena. There's going to be lunch by the Cook Shack. It's an open consignment sale. You got to call your consignments in. I'm going to give you the numbers and the names. Joe Bennett, 539-0111. That's an easy one right there. Remember that. 539-0111. And they'll take items starting today all the way through Friday. And don't forget, they're going to have cars, they're going to have tractors. They've got all kinds of items listed for the Southside Community Auction coming up this Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Twin Falls County Fairgrounds, managed by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, yep, they sell them all. All right, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Do you believe that there should be an age limit, bang, you're done, on the presidency? What do you think? Should it be 75? Should it be 80? Or should it be, back down the scale a little bit, 70? I'd like to know what your thoughts are. Now, on the Democratic ticket, and in be fairness to everything, Donald Trump in his mid-70s running for re-election, okay? But Joe Biden, I believe right now, is 76, soon to be 77. Bernie Sanders very, very soon will be 78, and we still have a year and a half prior to the election. Let's see what this caller has to say. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell. I believe that 75 should be the limit, and only because, sometimes you're still in full capacity of taking care of your duties. But I think 75 is a good age.
Okay, now let me ask you how you would discern 75. Are you discerning 75 as an age of when they could still run for the presidency, or would it be a term after the first 4 years that if they reach 75 during that first term, they can't take a second term?
Ooh, that's a big one. Yeah, I think they could do a 4-year term or a 8-year, a two term, as long as they are capable mentally and physically to do their job.
And who makes that discernment?
Their doctor.
Well, see, this is the thing that really bothers me because there's so much of a age discrepancy here. And I wasn't trying to pin you down, but if you're elected at 75, okay, and then you'll probably be up for your next term, knocking the door at 80 years of age. Now, are we going to say that at the age of 80 they can run for 2 terms, which would put them at 84 and go way over what the life expectancy is? Or are we going to have a cutoff and say, no, you can only have 1 term at that juncture? I'm looking at Bernie Sanders and I'm looking at Joe Biden, and they're going to be well, if they are elected president, God help us all if they are, but if they're elected president, they're going to be well into their 80s and almost into their mid or latter 80s if they accept another term.
Yeah, I think you could draw the limit at 1 term. In that instance, I think right now they're too dadgum old to run. I think they're both in the later part of their brain capacity, if they had any to begin with. That was not nice, but I've never been politically correct, but I don't think they should even be in the running.
Well,
if you're 75 or 74, okay, you're going to be 79 after the first term. That's going a little bit much.
Well, let's play the other card. Let's play another card of fairness in situations that we're aware of. You were aware, of course, that I think the greatest president in my lifetime, Ronald Reagan, was suffering from dementia in his term as president. And Wheels, we got a little feedback here. Help me ride that gain a little bit, please. And I honestly will say this: had it not been for his wonderful, loving wife, Nancy, Ronald Reagan would have looked rather foolish carrying out his term as president, which was sad. But there's another case of age and some of the related illnesses to age that I think we've got to be really careful about how old we accept the president of the United States.
Yes, I totally agree, and he was a great man, a great president. But that was the last year and a half. It really showed. And, I wouldn't want to walk a mile in any one of their shoes. That's an awful lot of responsibility to take on. And so you have to be physically and mentally alert and aware. And I think Bernie Sanders, he should have given up the race a long time ago. And Joe Biden, he needs to hang it up too, because they're both in the early stages of very few brain cells left.
Okay, Donna, I appreciate your call. You always chime in. Thank you so much. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you.
You too, my friend.
Thank you. There's a lady that says there needs to be limitations on ages. I'd like to hear what the rest of you have to say, because, this is something I've really thought about, looking at how on the left side, the Democratic side, it's playing out. With all the people that are throwing their hats into the ring, and for me right now to name each and every one of them, I couldn't even begin to name all of them. But, we're looking at an age bracket that's quite a bit younger, like the Kamala Harrises and the Beto O'Rourke's, and I got a story about him in a minute, and others that are trying to throw their hat in the ring for the Democratic side. But then the two that are still getting a lot of money and a lot of percentage support right now and that's Biden and Sanders. And both of those guys, Sanders will be probably 79, like I said, knocking on 80 if he's elected. Biden will be 78 if he's elected, and 82 after the first term. Do the math, and then to possibly, if he's elected, take a second term. No, you're talking about the late 80s, and I think that's much too old. Your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh, my goodness, they're looking for new people. Excuse me, choked to death. I shouldn't have had that last little piece of cereal. Don't forget, they need to hire some additional technicians, and boy, have they got some great opportunity employment situations for you. You need to get a hold of them. You really, really do, because they'll tell you all about the jobs that are available and the great equipment. Berry Equipment and Rental, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan. Call him. He can give you a lot of information about the people they're looking for at 678-7368. Or 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with Eli. Call him for other opportunities with Berry Equipment and Rental, 734-4186. Berry Equipment and Rental. Great opportunities for employment. You be sure and get a hold of them today. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Here's one of those stories that you got to hold me down. You got to hold me down. I'm so mad when I heard this story last night. Whoa. You remember John Walker Lind? You remember them? He was the American citizen, American young punk that said, I can't love America. I don't love America. I'm going to join the Taliban, fight against them, kill American soldiers. This sleaze was put in prison. Now, I don't know how. I don't know the ins and outs. And I don't know the whys. But now he is going to be released. And you say to yourself, oh, he's going to become a model citizen. No. All the while he was in prison, this sleaze was figuring out more ways to be connected to ISIS and terrorism. And he has vowed, since he was in prison, to become even more of a terrorist and more of a threat to humanity. Now, he applied for citizenship in Ireland, and they accepted, which to me, I'd like to have 5 minutes in the room with the nincompoop that made that acceptance. Now, here's the problem, folks. We're going to let him out. We're going to let this worthless punk out that hates America, wants to kill Americans and destroy America, and we're letting him out. How and why, when it's been proven that he is nothing more than a worthless terrorist? I don't understand what's going on in the world today. With the capitulation and rolling over like a dead fish on the beach, to cave into these people. Myself personally, I would put John Walker Lind in a dugout, 3-foot diameter hole down into the earth 10 feet deep. And on occasion throw him a slice of bread and a small bottle of water for what he did and what he represents and what he wants to do, he is worthless. Worthless. Caller, stand by. I'll be right with you. Don't go away. I want to remind everybody, Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. They're also looking for mechanics and dispatchers, too. Ag Express, my goodness sakes, they let us know that they are also welcoming retired people to put in for the positions. Full and part-time positions, you're home every night, new and maintained equipment, vacation schedules, great benefit programs, major medical, dental, etc. Don't put this off. Get a hold of Ag Express today. You can call Chad at 678-4625, extension 1, or Alan at 731-2495, or Tony at 438-5025. Yes, sir. Ag Express is looking for drivers, and Ag Express is looking for you. Get a hold of them today. Great employment opportunities. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. You're talking about the age of politicians, and I kind of like to add a little bit to that in that the state of Washington has decided they will put no one on the ballot who is running for president unless they have produced their last 5 years of taxes.
Okay. So Go ahead.
I think that if they're going to do that, it shouldn't be the president they're so worried about. The president's only in there for 4 to 8 years. It's these Congress people that are in there for a lifetime. They're the ones we need the tax reports on.
And quite frankly, we're seeing the effects of some of that right here in our state of Idaho with the long-term longevity of where they've taken up residence in that big cushy leather chair back in Congress and really are not working for the constituency.
Exactly. That position, going to Washington, D.C. should never be a career. That it was never what it was intended for. They should not be able to retire on that wealthier than when they went in.
Well, go back to the original concept of my question, though, on the age of the president. And honestly, I know you've thought about this, but what would you do and how would you discern the ages of acceptance for the president's first term and or maybe a second term?
You know, I think if they can pass the physical that they have to do, go for it. That position is very taxing mentally, physically, emotionally, everything. And if they feel like that they are able and willing to do it, I think most of those guys who have run for president have been more physically able than what we've got sitting in Congress sweeping through the sessions at 90 years old.
I can't argue that. It's a good point. Thank you for your call this morning. You're always appreciated. Drive carefully coming down the hill.
Yep,
okay. All right. Thank you. You know, there's a good point. I'm in favor of term limits. I never was. No, I never was. No. I'd fight any, in a verbal confrontation. I'd be ready to harangue and fight back on that. No, I was against it. And then all of a sudden I started to see a little crack of light. I am absolutely in favor of it. I think that there is too much of an establishment. There is too much of the good old boy syndrome. There's too much of a 4-H club, if you will. And the proof's in the pudding. I've said this so many times, it's probably redundant to you folks. But why should we have to chase these people to get them on the radio, the television, or for a newspaper interview, whatever? They should be, as part of their job, every single week informing us as to what they are doing, what they're working on, and what they've accomplished. I've lost all my respect for the national legislative bodies. I have. I don't care who they are. We have every Monday on this program the Idaho Legislative Update. And I'll guarantee you, and I mean this sincerely, that I haven't had to call Representative Fred Wood. I haven't had to call Senator Kelly Anthon. I haven't had to call Representative Clark Kaufman. I haven't had to call Speaker of the House Scott Bedke. They call me. And they say, well, so-and-so can't do the program this morning. I'm going to do the program. Here's the topics I want to discuss. Those are people that really care, and they're our legislative leaders here in the state of Idaho, and they're doing a darn good job. But on the other hand, you call our national, well, we just don't know if he can fit you into the schedule. Well, it's been 3 months. Well, we just don't know if we can fit you into the schedule. That's baloney. There's another word I wanted to use. Time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And they're right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call, 312-0957. I almost gave my number again. 312-0957. I'll say it again for confusion's sake. 312-0957. Great doctors, Dr. Christine Pickup, Courtney Mitchell, Shane Hunsaker. They are all dedicated to your hearing health. Maybe you've got problems with high blood pressure, or maybe some heart problems, or a disease, or maybe diabetes, whatever the case is, and it might be causing your hearing loss. You better have it checked out today. Give them a call, 312-0957. We'll have more about Mount Harrison right after this. Here's the weather.
What's it going to be like for the first day of spring and for the supermoon tonight? Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies today. A little bit of a breeze out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 22 miles an hour. Sunny skies, expecting a high of 61. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 32. By tomorrow, clouds are going to be rolling into the valley, expecting a high of 57. And then for tomorrow night, 20% chance of showers before midnight. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 34. As we take a look at the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we do have a slight chance of rain showers in the forecast, mostly in the afternoon. Clouds will be sticking around. Winds are going to be picking up just a little bit, and we do have a 30% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the mid-50s. And that's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Rand.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everybody by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Thank you for your hearing health. Please call them, make an appointment today at 312-0957. I wouldn't say this if I couldn't prove it. I wouldn't say this if it weren't true. I wouldn't say this to denigrate them if I couldn't back it up. And I'm going to back it up. Beto O'Rourke, Kamala Harris, and others, especially Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in blatant terminology, are liars. They're liars. Not to be trusted. Liars. They jumped up on tables and food counters and podiums and expressed the world's going to end in 12 years. We're all going to burn up with global warming and climate change. All the scientists agree. That was and is a blatant lie. A blatant lie. Even some of the far left-wing scientists have come out and said, how dare they? How dare they, these politicians, say that we're all going to burn up and die in 12 years? Many of these so-called scientists that I've argued with, and it's not all scientists by any means. That's a misnomer. You've read some of that garbage in our own Times News. But the fact is this. These are the facts. There is no scientific consensus that the planet only has 12 years with climate change. That's a lie. And Beto O'Rourke, Kamala Harris, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez are spreading that lie, and it's been perpetrated now to grow like a cancer in our classrooms with our kids. Last week, across the world, from the South Pacific to you name it, all over the world, 100 countries had classes of students walk out of their classrooms in protest against global warming / climate change because we're all going to burn up in 12 years. What are you doing to us? We're little kids. We don't want to die. And these nincompoops on the Democratic ticket are spreading this lie. These kids walked out of class in defiance, saying, we're not going to go to school until you do something on climate change because we're all going to die in 10 years, 12 years. The scientists have debunked this and said, absolutely, that is a falsehood. And this deal about we're past the point of no return, another lie. The scientists that were talked to said they do not agree on an imminent point of no return. I'm telling you, folks, when you have a little 8-year-old, and this was attributed to an 8-year-old. I've got an 8-year-old grandson. Jake's oldest boy is 8 years old. And they have a quote in the paper that says this from an 8-year-old girl in New York. Listen to this. Borders, languages, and religions do not separate us. Today we are telling the truth and we do not take no for an answer. Don't give me this garbage in the paper from an Associated Press story that an 8-year-old made that statement. The teachers and the parents and others that are misleading these kids into this fear factor, and I really point the finger at AOC and the Democrats, Beto O'Rourke, they are liars. And they do not understand, nor do they want to, promote really the truth. Scare tactics. Fear-mongering. That's all they know. That's all they know. And I got written testimony right here in my hand. I wouldn't call them liars if I didn't have the proof. But the problem really is exacerbated because now it's in the school systems and these kids are going, I don't want to die, Mom and Dad, 12 years old. And it's all a perpetrated hoax. Or, better yet, a lie. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Big Spring Tire Sale. Holy mackerel, you can save a lot of money at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Right now, all 7 locations, Big Spring Tire Sale. And if you need tires for your car, your pickup, your SUV, whatever, just get in there today and enjoy the savings. I mean, these folks really, really care. And they've got the best of brake service, I know that personally, and front-end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. And like I said, service. They come at a high lope to see if they can help you. Absolutely at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with a great big spring tire sale. Must have scared everybody off. My goodness sakes, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Quick reminder, tomorrow will be Lunch Bunch, and we'll be at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Yeah, don't forget that. 11:30 we start. And we want to say thank you again to Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's. Lots of gift certificates to give away. And I urge everybody to kind of call your friends and neighbors, please. Everybody fill up the room, dress in green. Wow, we'll look like a jungle in there. A lot of fun tomorrow. Don't forget it at Denny's, America's Diner. Caller, I've got a minute and a half. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Zeb, do you have a subject we're talking about this morning, or can we talk about anything, or what?
Real fast, because I've only got a minute left before the news. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to bring up the Minidoka County, that bond election that we had. I know you've been pounded on that a lot, but I hope the people realize that you know, if they pass this thing, coming down the road, we're going to be looking at an airport. Coming down the road, we're going to be looking at things like a jail. And, you know, unless we get a prop position of some kind so they can only tax us so much, we're going to end up taxing ourselves in the poorhouse.
You know,
so that's my big deal.
Would you do me a favor? Please call me after the program, and I want to reestablish kind of a conversation with you and make a program segment on that. Would you do that for me?
Yes, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much.
You bet.
All right, sir. You know, we can tax ourselves into obscurity and economic death. We got to be really, really careful in these days. Let's go to the news right now, and then I'll be back in about 7 minutes with a whole bunch more. Dave Bego, Pacific Legal Foundation, and others. I'll be back in 7 minutes. Oh, good morning. I really have spring fever today because today is the first day of spring. You thought it was tomorrow, the 21st, but oh, no. With the cyclical changes in the twirling and swirling of our earth and the everything else, the scientific deal they gave me as to why it's today with the elliptical orbit changes, that's above a cowboy's pay grade. Anyway, good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a great big spring tire sale, and some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. We're going to be ready to rock and roll here in a minute, but right now this word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
As a matter of fact, I had a call the other day from some people that said, we're new in the area. What was that commercial you were doing? Who do we call to get on the route service to get our garbage? And I said, Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Give them a call, 734-6969. Wonderful people that really care, and your garbage is gone. It's out of there thanks to Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Want to also give a great big shout out to a business that you need to stop in. You need to check out all the great television sets from Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs, all of this and more at Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. Oh my goodness, they really know TVs, and they know complete sound systems, and they know car stereo and speaker systems and home theater systems. You know, kick back in your lazy boy with a bowl of popcorn. Oh boy. All of this thanks to Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. And they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. You stop in and see them today. Patterson's on East Main in Burley. Really good folks. We're going to have Dave Bego with us momentarily from back in Indianapolis, Indiana. But right now I also want to remind you about our really, really dear friend Joel Heward, his family and his staff at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. You know, when there's the passing of a loved one, it's a really hard, crucial time to try to think and do what has to be done in a short period of time. Stop. Call their number. They can help. They will help. Always with the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. Number to call, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Wheels, it's starting to sound a little fuzzy. Does it sound all right over there with you?
It sounds fine with me. I'll let you know if I hear it.
All right, my friend, thank you. Is Mr. Bego on the line?
He is, sir.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, every Wednesday we get a chance to talk to a very, very good friend of ours from back in Indianapolis, Indiana, accomplished author and also a very, very big businessman that I have a lot of respect for. Dave Bego, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Good to be on your show, and glad to hear that I heard you had some power outages. You got them taken care of.
All the power outages have been minimized. We're not using a flashlight to read the copy with on our program. But I want to start things off, and Wheels, a little bit of feedback there, old buddy. I want to start off with a subject this morning that it just makes my blood boil. And maybe you can be a man of reason and give me an answer. But John Walker Lind, a young man that was a citizen of this great United States of America, disavowed his citizenship and anything to do with America, went overseas, fought with the Taliban, trying to kill American soldiers. He was captured, we put him in prison, and now I still don't understand how or why. He's getting out of prison, but he has vowed that when he gets out, he's going to go back to being a terrorist and vowed to do more harm to us and the United States. This is lunacy, Dave Bego. Please explain it to me.
Well, it is, Zeb, and the problem in this country is, the far left, they're pushing for things like this to happen and, letting these people out, and they want them out on our streets and causing problems because their whole philosophy is to bring Trump down and to bring this country down.
Wheels, I'm going to ask you to ride the game a little bit on Mr. Bego and then also the feedback, if you would, please. But that doesn't really answer the question, and I'm not trying to pick at you, but we're letting this guy out. We're letting this terrorist out to kill, and he wants to kill. He wants to be a part of a new uprising with ISIS. He wants to be a part of a national and global jihad. I'd never turn the key in the lock to let him out. And if I did, it would be to drop him in a 3-foot wide hole that's 10 feet deep and leave him there. I don't understand this.
Well, like I say, Zeb, you have people that they want to see people like this out of jail and that, and they, it's political correctness. They think, we ought to, they shouldn't serve too much time, and they're not as bad as you think, and all that. And but at the end of the day, they're speaking out of both sides of their mouth, and they have the power to get these people out, and that's what they do.
Dave,
and people got to understand that the left and the unions, they're double standard. They speak what they think they need at the time to get things done, and it's terrible what's going on. I mean, even the unions right now, Zeb, the SEIU and the FL-CIO, there's big articles that have come out in the New York Times and that are unions exploiting their employees, and the article talks about how many union employees are filing unfair labor practices and suits against these unions because these people are doing bad things for the membership and put money in their own pocket and their own political agenda, and they're all part of this thing to bring this country down. The SEIU are communist, and in fact, there was another article last week about another one of them that stepped up and admitted he was a communist. And we have socialist communists in this country that want to make a change, and that's what they're trying to do.
Dave, every week I have you on, we talk about various problems and stories here in America. But when you look at the Democratic Party, and again, I acknowledge the fact that you've already kind of discussed with the unions, but they're all tied in. But when you look at the Democrats blatantly standing up and looking at TV cameras and saying they want to change the whole structure of our nation and change our Constitution, stop the First Amendment, do away with the Second Amendment, abolish the Electoral College, get rid of the Supreme Court or add numbers to it, and get rid of the Senate, add the 16-year-olds to the voting rolls. My goodness, America's falling apart at the seams.
Well, it is, but there's other people in the Democratic Party that are getting fed up with their own party, and they're starting to move back to the right. And I think we're going to see more of this because these people that the Democrats got elected like AOC and some of these other ladies in that. These were all put in place, and they got elected because behind the scenes, the unions and the far left did things to make sure they got the votes they needed, whether it was legal or illegal. They got them in, and this is all, and it isn't the true Democratic Party. This is a far left deep state that doesn't like this country, and all these things you talk about are means of bringing us down and getting rid of capitalism and our free market society.
But what about the American public? You know, I'm sitting here every day on this program, and I just hope and pray that people will start to learn to study the issues and look at the issues with open eyes and understand that they're being led by the nose by the filthy left that wants to turn this into a socialist/communist country. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about the Electoral College. They don't care about the equal votes that are created because of the representation of the Electoral College. They don't understand the value of a 9-person on the Supreme Court. They don't understand the value of our Senate or our First and Second Amendments. My goodness, what's the matter with the public that they're not standing up with pitchforks in their hands and saying enough is enough?
Well, Zeb, I think a lot of people, that's not who they are. That's not their personality. And I think a lot of them behind the scenes are just changing their minds, and I think it'll make a difference when we go to the polls in 2020. Because I've talked to people in that, and they and on Democrats and that, and they just shake their heads at what's going on, and say it's not their party. But you know, a lot of people don't want to stand up and fight like that. You know, they'd rather do their job behind the scene, voting or whatever else they're doing, and I think they're trying to keep it quiet right now. I really do.
Yeah, but Dave, I know you're a very subdued personality, much more so than mine. But there comes a point in time when a country that has led the world as being the greatest country ever on the face of the earth, with the best Constitution and the best Bill of Rights, everything for mankind to make this country so great. There comes a time when you can't just be blasé. You've got to stand up and pick that pitchfork up, or you're going to lose what you got.
Well, we'll see, Zeb. I mean, yeah, there's times you got to do that, but you know, one of the ways we beat the SEIU is behind the scenes. We exposed them, and we did it in a very professional manner, and you know, we woke people up, even people that were for the union. They woke up and saw, you know, these things aren't right. And we're seeing it even in, you know, like union elections the past couple of years. Unions have lost more elections than they've won. And the union people who are working in these places are tired of it. And I think what we're going to see is voters that are, you know, your people that work in, you know, car plants and stuff like that are unionized. Behind the scenes, they're gearing up to vote the other way and turn away from the unions and the Democratic Party.
Are you ready to reach into your billfold and maybe lay out an extra, $200, $300, maybe an extra $500, maybe even on a year-by-year basis to pay for reparations, to go back to certain families in the colonies, back to 1619? Are you willing to do what some of the Democrats like Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren and others are going to do, to say because it's time to start a national full-blown conversation about reparations?
No, you know, again, they're doing this stuff just to get in the minds of people and, you know, brainwash them and say, you know, we're good people, we try to do things and that. But you got to really watch what they do and not what they say, because what they do is totally different than what they say. And they go out and say this stuff just to get, you know, people on their side. And, again, I'm going back. I think the American people are waking up, and you know, even some of the younger people I've talked to are shaking their heads at what the other side's doing.
But when you think about reparations and the idiocy, and that's what I'm going to call it because it is, to say that they could go back to 1619 and start researching families and slave families and, you need to pay so-and-so so much money. I maintain this, and I don't care if it sounds negative to some people. I think that many of those people that were brought here, by the way, the slave trade was also conducted and managed by black slave traders. But it was a blessing for those families to come to this country because of the opportunities that were purveyed to those generations upon generations to what is available today. And to look back and say, well, we got to pay all this money. How do you figure how much, and how do you figure to who?
Well, that's exactly right. And, Zeb, again, this is all, it's kind of like when the unions go out, and it's what they're doing now with their socialistic agenda. We're going to give you free Medicare and Medicaid and, health care, and we're going to give you free tuition and all this kind of stuff. And this is all just stuff they throw out there to get people to vote for them. And at the end of the day, people have to realize, and again, I think more people are standing up and understanding this, that they're saying this stuff, but they'll never do it. And it's typical, even like I say in the unions, there's so many union employees that are going after the unions now because all the stuff they said they're going to do for them, they're not doing. They're just getting their union dues for their own pocketbook.
Let me ask you this. There seems to be, with Nancy Pelosi and others, a real push by a lot of the Democrats right now, not only that are running for the presidential nomination, but also others like Pelosi and Durbin and some others, that are really pushing for 16-year-olds to have the right to vote. I shake my head when I say these stories because no matter what happens, whether it's the Electoral College, whether it's the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, whether it's the Senate, whether it's changing the Supreme Court, doesn't make any difference. It seems like the Democrats can't win, so they got to change the rules.
Well, people do desperate things, and that's what they're doing. They're trying to, change things so that they can get more voters to vote for them in 2020. And Zeb, it's going to get worse. I mean, we got a long way to go until the election, and it's going to get worse. And we're going to see a lot more worse stuff come along in the next year and a half. And people need to realize that and get ready and open their eyes because they're going to do anything they can. We already know, and I've talked about this before, and I wrote blogs about it, that they want the open borders because over the years they've used these illegals and got them in to vote at the polls, even though they're not registered Americans.
Absolutely.
And they've done other things to bribe people to go in and vote for certain people and stuff like that, and they're going to continue to do this stuff.
Most 16-year-olds can't even remember where they left their algebra book, and they want to push them to vote?
Yep, it's all about the vote, because what they'll do is they'll load them up on buses and take them there and say, vote for this person and this person when you go into the poll.
I just sit here and I just get so worked up over the stupidity and the asinine ideas that they come up with. And that leads me to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Beto O'Rourke and Kamala Harris. They have blatantly come out and said the world's going to end in 12 years because we're all going to burn up because of climate change. Oh, my goodness. And the schools picked up on this, and the teachers have been teaching the kids that we're all going to burn up. And then the kids all skipped school last week for a certain day, and they went out in the streets and they said, oh, don't burn us up, don't kill us, please do something immediately. Well, first of all, I did some checking and I did some thorough research, and I made a lot of calls and I got a lot of paperwork. Even the most liberal of scientific groups came out and said, wait a minute, we never said the world's going to burn up in 12 years. We never agreed on an imminent point of no return. These politicians are lying to the public, and unfortunately the media picks it up, and then it goes into our school systems.
Oh, yeah. Well, in the school systems, they're controlled by the left anyway, and they've been, for the last 20, 30 years, they've been brainwashing the kids anyway because, you have mostly leftists in there professors and teachers teaching these people, and most of them are in unions. And of course, the unions are controlling them too. What to say to these kids and stuff like that. This is all. The whole point of all of this is to bring this country down from within, and that's what their agenda is, and that's why you see all this stuff going on. And they know that younger kids and millennials, they're going to be more susceptible to being brainwashed by this stuff, and that's why the people that know need to sit down and talk to people and show them what's really true and that. And as far as climate change, the Earth has gone through climate change for so long, it's unbelievable. Even back before man really had a footprint. I mean, you had an ice age and you had a warm age and stuff like that. They like to use this stuff for their own agenda, not for the real benefit of the American people.
Absolutely. By the way, I was going to ask you, if you ever want to run for political office and you have a gathering at a restaurant, and you, Dave Bego, how tall are you? 6'4", 6'5", what is it?
6'3".
Okay, 6'3". And you, Dave Bego, jump up on the food counter. I would expect, and you would probably expect, that you might get a little notice from the local health department not to put your dirty street shoes on the food counter. Beto O'Rourke jumps up on a food counter, starts prancing and dancing up there, and dropping F-bombs and everything else. These guys are creeps.
Yeah, they're crazy. They think they're smarter than everybody else, so they can do whatever they want to do. And I've met so many people like that, in my life, and you just got to expose them for what they really are. And if you meet with them face to face, bring out the things that they do, they're saying that are wrong and stuff like that. And like I had debates with the SEIU, and when I exposed the stuff they said was wrong and that, they just kind of shrunk away, and that's what you got to do to them.
Yeah. Okay, last question, last thought. Have you filled out your bracket?
No, and I don't know if I'll get it done. I've had a very busy week. We've had a lot of things going on, and my wife, Barb, hasn't been feeling very good, but she's doing better now, and so it's just, it's been one of those weeks. You know how that goes. Extend to her our best wishes, but if you were to make a long-range prediction, and I'm going to put you on the hanger right now, old buddy. Who do you think's going to win the NCAA March Madness tournament? I'm not sure, Zeb. I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched it as much this year as I normally do, but I think there's a lot of teams out there that have opportunities, so I think it'd be worth watching and see where it comes from. I'm going to tell you this right now. I think it's going to come down to two teams. I'm going to stick my neck out on the line, and one player I think is going to be the decisive factor. One player, and that's, of course, Zion Williamson for Duke. If something happens or defensively they learn how to shut him down, which I don't think is possible, I'd pick North Carolina, but in this case I got to go with Duke. Yeah, those are two of the top big teams, so you have to look at those as possibilities, but you just never know in the tournament, so it'll be interesting. All right, Dave Bego, God bless you, man. The best to your lovely wife, and we'll talk to you next week on Wednesday. Thank you so much. Well, thanks, and have a good week, and I hope your picks go well. All right, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Dave Bego, dear friend back in Indianapolis, Indiana, and we always look forward to him on political analysis. Analysis? I like that. Anyway, I want to remind you, too, on Mondays at 10:30, we have the legislative update, and it's sponsored by Handy Truck Lines. I really appreciate Clay Handy and the entire outfit over there. Handy Truck Lines, of course, has been serving in all the communities of the Northwest for over 90 years, and we certainly appreciate all their effort. When we called them and said, hey, we're going to have the Idaho legislative update again this year, jumped right in. They said, we'll sponsor it. Handy Truck Lines at 400 West 100 South of Paul, 438-5071. Also, quickly want to remind you about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Hello, Jeff and the crew over there. Man, I'll tell you what, it's spring. And you got to kind of sit back, look at your kitchen, look at your living room, look at your den, look at your TV room, look at your bedrooms and go, ew!
we need to make some upgrades. Well, they've got all the upgrades for the beautification and comfortization. I love that. For all of your furniture, your carpet, everything at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. 459 Overland in Burley. I mean, stop in and check out all the bedroom sets, the mattresses. Oh, they got all kinds of mattresses. And, of course, all the carpeting and the recliners and the love seats. All of this and so much more for you. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley. You stop in and see those really good folks today. Oh, and another business that you need to stop into, and it's completely different than most businesses because it gets you out of the house and it gets you up in the hills. Yep, let's ride. They've got all the four-wheelers. Holy cow. They've got four-wheelers. I do not know how they got everything crammed into that showroom, but they did at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays, 9 to 4. And you walk in the door and just stop and go left to right, right to left. Holy buckets, they've got the four-wheelers for you and all the side-by-sides, everything at Let's Ride. Stop over and see them today, again at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. It is. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and we have an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation. He's been on this program many, many times. Jonathan Wood, good morning. How are you?
Doing well, Zed. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's nice that you're being had. Jonathan, what do we got to talk about this morning? I know you're involved in a case which is right in my backyard, as a matter of fact.
And that's exactly right. A couple of weeks ago, the District Court for the District of Idaho issued a very important decision concerning the Congressional Review Act, holding that whenever agencies violate the law by failing to submit rules to Congress as the law requires, anyone who's affected by that rule can go to court and sue the agency for violating the law.
Okay, now, I want you to be really kind of discerning here on what you meant. Fails to supply rules to Congress. So in other words, what you're saying is some of these wonderful, illustrious agencies that say thou shalt not go here or be here, if they don't go through Congress first, then thou shalt nots don't mean a pile of beans.
That's exactly right. In 1996, Congress passed the Congressional Review Act in recognition that too much of the lawmaking for the federal government today happens in agencies rather than Congress. And the fix to that was that whenever an agency wants to adopt a rule and impose it on you, me, or any other American, it first has to submit that rule to Congress for review. So there's some measure of democratic accountability to the administrative state. And unfortunately, agencies don't like that accountability and have instead decided that they're not going to follow the law and simply refuse to submit rules to Congress as required.
Yeah, but Jonathan, how'd they get away with this? I mean, rules are rules, laws are laws, regulations are regulations. Why didn't somebody put their boot down on the floor and say enough is enough a long time ago?
I think largely it's that people weren't aware of how important the Congressional Review Act and the way it operates. Prior to 2017, Congress wasn't even that interested in the Congressional Review Act. But with the Trump administration coming in and focused on reducing overregulation, there was renewed interest in the law. In fact, it was used to disapprove 16 controversial and overly burdensome rules.
So these organizations, were making up their own rules, kind of like a new spaghetti dish, and they were telling everybody thou shalt not, when really they should have had their hands slapped.
That's exactly right. And importantly, if a party affected by one of these illegal rules can't go to court, there's no way to hold the agency accountable. And that's why the recent decision from Idaho is so important. It ensures that agencies have to follow the law, because if they don't, they can't enforce the rules.
Well, give us the story again, Jonathan, about what happened in my backyard and how it was brought to prominence and what's going to take place now. Kind of give us a general synopsis.
So we filed a case on behalf of Tugal Ranches, which is a ranch in Idaho operated by a family. The challenge has to do with the greater sage-grouse rules that I'm sure you've talked a lot about on the show.
Mm-hmm.
These are really controversial rules that dictate how over 170 million acres of federal land will be used. The rules were controversial with the states. It triggered a wave of lawsuits with states saying the government had overreached. And even Congress expressed disapproval of the rules and held hearings to argue about whether the agencies had overreached. And yet, for this kind of rule, which has a huge impact and obviously is the kind of thing that Congress should have a say in, the agencies refuse to give Congress that opportunity by not submitting the rules to Congress as required. So representing Chugach Ranches, we filed a lawsuit to force the agency to comply. And no rule like this should be able to go into force unless Congress is given an opportunity to approve it first.
You know, I sit here and I'm in amazement, Jonathan, that these organizations, can you name those organizations, would you please?
In this case, it's the Department of Interior and the Department of Agriculture, but PLF did a study of unsubmitted rules and found that this is a pervasive problem across the federal government. Most agencies have failed to submit a ton of rules, and that should concern everyone, regardless of whether you like a particular rule or dislike a particular rule.
Absolutely.
Democratic accountability is absolutely critical, and we can't have that unless agencies comply with the law and give Congress, the people we elect to write the law, an opportunity to review rules and say whether they should be allowed or not.
Well, this is where I'm really kind of, I'm in awe as to how this problem came up, because when you said these agencies refused, there's a real strong word, refused to give this to Congress, holy cow, how did they get away with that? I mean, why didn't somebody in Congress say, don't refuse me, Buckwheat, you better have it here tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock?
The reason why is that Congress doesn't have a means to enforce the law unless courts are willing to do so too. I mean, Congress can hold a hearing, but if an agency is not going to submit the rule and trigger the process for Congress to review the rule, there is no way for Congress to exercise that power. That's why it's absolutely vital that courts review violations of the Congressional Review Act and force agencies to comply. That's what sets the process in motion and allows Congress to vote down rules it doesn't like.
Jonathan, what about the family or the ranch or the people involved in this? Were they hurt financially, and are they going to be reinvested with the money that they spent? I mean, tell us, what's their status?
The Chugach Ranches grazes federal land under grazing leases, which are affected by the Greater Sage-Grouse Plan. The area they graze is habitat for the species. It's habitat for the species because they have grazed it in a way that respects the local environment. But nevertheless, the new federal rules would severely restrict what they are allowed to do with their grazing activities, which obviously threatens their business and it makes it more difficult for them to keep the family ranch going.
Okay, so now this is where you come in as PLF, Pacific Legal Foundation. How are you involved and intertwined in this, and what's the net result that you hope your organization can achieve?
PLF got involved because we believe the Congressional Review Act is absolutely essential. It is flatly unconstitutional that the vast majority of power at the federal level has been shifted away from Congress, away from the president, away from the courts, where the Constitution vests that power, and instead given to unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats. One agency can write the law, enforce the law, and then hold a court within the agency, and you never get exposed to any of the people who actually are vested with that power under the Constitution, and that's a serious threat to democratically accountable government. So we see this case as part of a broader push to ensure that agency power is properly limited, and that when agencies exercise power, it is subject to democratic constraints like the Congressional Review Act.
You know, in your business with the Pacific Legal Foundation and all the court cases and everything that you've been involved in, Jonathan, would I be safe in assuming that I'm correct that there is a major push push by some shadowy figures somewhere behind the scenes to try to eliminate the Americans' usage of public lands?
I think it's that federal lands are inherently subject to conflict because there's no effective way for people to resolve their conflicting demands on the land amicably. There are no current markets that allow people to say, okay, I really want this area to be available for agriculture, I want this area to be available for recreation. That all gets decided through politics. And thus, every single issue is a political fight. And that is, of course, unfortunate because it makes it more difficult for us to enjoy our federal lands. But it also has resulted in a fundamental shift of power away from the people and away from Congress to agencies, exercising power despite the fact that no one elected these bureaucrats, and frequently there's no way to hold them accountable. So in this case, for instance, the losses to Two-Gar Ranches are not going to be repaid by the bureaucrats that violated the law. There are no ways to hold bureaucrats accountable other than suing them to force them to follow the law.
Mm-hmm. You know, I've said for a long time on this program, and I maintain this attitude, and I'm going to retain that attitude for the future, that when bureaucrats and government officials say, oh, well, we've got to save this for future generations, that is the biggest lie that could ever be perpetrated out to the American public. Because once you lock something up, once you stop something from being seen or tread upon, it's never going to be used again. And don't give me this garbage about future generations. Would you agree or disagree?
I think the key is to find ways so that everyone can get what they want from federal lands. There are more than enough lands available for us to have grazing, to have mining, and to have recreational opportunities. The problem is that when you subject this to politics, everything's going to be a fight, and no one will want to compromise. And, of course, grazing should occur in a way that respects the environment and conserves the land, and that is what happens under current law. As I said, the reason why the Two-Gar Ranch's grazing land has been targeted under this rule is because their grazing has protected the land as sage-grouse habitat. If you eliminate that kind of activity that results in these conservation benefits, you're going to lose those benefits too.
Well, the grazing being copacetic with the sage-grouse and other wildlife issues absolutely has proved compatibility over the years and over the centuries, as a matter of fact. And I, for one, am livid that we have people that are wearing three-piece suits and wingtip shoes back on the East Coast that have never set foot out here are making the dictations as to how we live our life or don't live our life, or which ranchers are going to go broke or which ones might survive.
That's exactly right. I mean, part of the difficulty of federal land is that decisions are being made by bureaucrats and officers in D.C. who will likely never see the land and don't have the same connection to it that local communities, states, and the people who actually use it do.
What about the future from your position as a person that's fighting for our rights against bureaucracy? Are more of these stories developing in other parts of the country, other issues? Bring us up to speed on that.
Absolutely. I mean, as I said earlier, I think this case is part of a broader effort to restore the Congressional Review Act as a check on agency power. And in fact, across the board, we're seeing increased interest in limiting the power of unelected bureaucrats, regardless of, the actual politics. The people who championed the Obama administration's overreach are suddenly reconsidering that now that they're seeing the Trump administration exercise power. And the lesson here is that, as our founding fathers recognized when they wrote the Constitution, political power should only be exercised by the people we elect to exercise it. The consent of the governed is absolutely essential.
You know, Jonathan, I always look forward to having you on the program. You're a straight shooter and really lay the facts out there. Now, with this story and other stories and also possibly a contributory access to help the PLF, how do they get a hold of you?
The easiest way to contact PLF or to learn more about us is to go to our website, which is pacificlegal.org.
Jonathan, I tell you what, are you a basketball fan? I'm going to ask you something personal right now.
I am. Unfortunately, my Texas Longhorns did not make the tournament, so my season, or college season, is over. But I understand other teams are doing far better.
All right, I'm going to ask you to put you on the spot. Okay, if you're going to pick another team to go all the way through the 64 teams and be the champion, who would you pick right now?
Until Zion gets hurt, I think you have to pick Duke. But any team that relies on one player to that extent, you can never be too sure about. But, they'd have my vote right now.
I think you and I are on the same page. My friend, I thank you. Jonathan Wood with the Pacific Legal Foundation. Come back soon. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you.
All right, take care. I'm glad that he was on and explaining the story about basically the power grab of many federal organizations that are just basically thumbing their nose at Congress, thumbing their nose at the rules and regulatory process and say, we're going to do it on our own and we're going to do it our way. That's been the problem. And, I really, really worry about the future, about the next election, or about the election after that. The absolute scare and fear if the Democrats get back into total power, and what they would do on landowner rights and all of our other rights, and some of these regulatory agencies, why, you just turn them loose, they'd be like rabid dogs. Time for the weather. And the weather brought to you this hour by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Almost choked on that cough drop. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. I mean, that's a long time being numero uno good. Absolutely. The best of tax return preparation. They're swamped right now. I know they are. Tax planning, retirement planning, along with financial statement preparation, everything, with 2 locations to serve you. Burley and Rupert, the very best. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
What's going to be like for the first day of spring and for the supermoon tonight? Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies today, a little bit of a breeze out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 22 miles an hour. Sunny skies, expecting a high of 61. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 32. By tomorrow, clouds are going to be rolling into the valley, expecting a high of 57. And then for tomorrow night, 20% chance of showers before midnight. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 34. As we take a look at the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we do have a slight chance of rain showers in the forecast, mostly in the afternoon. Clouds will be sticking around. Winds are going to be picking up just a little bit, and we do have a 30% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the mid-50s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Rand.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. And don't forget our friends that are serving you. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Offices in Burley and Rupert. And if you're thinking of expanding your business, creating more employment opportunities, or maybe starting a corporation, whatever the case might be or the question, get a hold of them today. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. I would really appreciate some calls right now. We've got about 8-9 minutes to where we can have kind of an open forum, so I would love to hear from you. Give me a jingle on the landline, and we'll discuss any topic you want to talk about. Real quick, I want to mention Lunch Bunch tomorrow, 11:30. At Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 North Overland in Burley. And again, our thanks to Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes, Doug Martin, Denny's. And it's at 11:30. We urge you to call your friends and neighbors, all your relatives. Everybody, come on down to Denny's. We're going to have a good time down there tomorrow. Oh, caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Top of the morning to you, laddie.
Well, did you oversleep?
I stand on the Fifth Amendment on that.
Okay. You've been listening to the program all morning, and we've hit a multitude of different stories, etc. What are your thoughts?
Actually, I've been busier than a one-armed paper hanger in a windstorm.
Oh, my.
So I haven't had time to pay too much attention. You've been on in the background. But one thing I called about
the mainstream media and the journalists that are following these Democrat candidates around got their job handed to them by a college student who asked O'Rourke, when are you going to tell us about some policies instead of just mumbo jumbo?
Bingo. And Wheels, you're going to have to ride the gain and turn Doug up a little bit, or Doug, you're going to have to speak up a little louder. I saw that interview. I saw that question being thrown at O'Rourke, and let me kind of back up a little bit and say, and I'll stand behind this because I've got the proof, that when you take Kamala Harris and you take Beto O'Rourke and you take Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I blame them. I point my finger at them for being blatant, here's the word, liars, and I can prove it. They were the ones that started this deal. Oh, we're all going to burn up in 12 years. We're going to die because of climate change. This was started and perpetrated by them, and it was nothing more than a blatant lie. I've got the facts and all the figures right here in front of me from various scientific groups that said we never said that, and we are not going to be held accountable for that misstatement.
Yeah, and they're stating all scientists agree.
Yeah, and all did not agree. As a matter of fact, some of these were the most liberal of all the scientists, and they said, wait a minute, whoa, back the bus up for a minute, because we never all said that we agree on an imminent point of no return.
Exactly. And where Google now has taken the guy that was the co-founder of Greenpeace.
Oh, Mr. Moore.
Him out of the history book.
Yeah.
Show that he wasn't even listed.
I got to tell you real quick that after a little research last week, after having a discussion on the program about getting him on my show, I managed to find his secretary in Canada that is working on booking him for our program next week.
Oh, great. That's good. Because it was really amazing where he comes on and tells the truth. And yet, Google, these people that are supposed to be a private company, but they're traded on the public stock market, do not have to abide by the same rules and regs as a public company does when they're putting out news and broadcasts.
You know, Doug, when you look at the left and the changes that they want to incorporate into our everyday lifestyle, they want to change the rules so that it's easier for them to have complete control and power. I've mentioned these, and this is not me talking. It's them. They've said they want to change the Constitution. They've said they want to change the structure and the numbers of the Supreme Court. They said that they wanted to abolish the Electoral College. They said that they wanted to get rid of the Senate. They said they wanted to stop the First and the Second Amendments. They said they wanted to have 16-year-olds vote. I never said that. They did.
Exactly. It's like if, okay, let's play a game. We got a home team, we got a visitor team. Well, the visitor team scores more points than the home team. Say they scored 3 touchdowns and the home team only scores 2. Well, then the home team says, no. For visitor team, they only get 3 points a touchdown and we get 6 points a touchdown, so we beat you.
Well, the best analogy I heard was you can have a baseball game and you can have all 9 of your players every time they're up to bat, and let's supposition that they're going to get up 4 times during a 9-inning game. That would be 36 hits, right?
Yeah.
But they can still lose the game if they don't get the runs across the plate.
But we won because we got more hits than you did.
That's what the Democrats are saying.
Exactly. When they do not have any policies or any platform to get people to vote for them, then they're going to be sneaky. They're going to try to do voter fraud, use more voter fraud. That's why they're totally against voter IDs.
Oh, absolutely.
If they had voter ID, then they could this ballot harvesting and all that stuff in California.
Is that your phone?
Well, my boss is calling. I better
right, Doug. Thank you for your call. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Hey, I want to remind you, too, I still got time for another call, that we absolutely thank our dear friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. They are devoted to serving you. Very dedicated and responsive. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. All you got to do is just pick up the phone and call them at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really good folks. Oh, I want to remind you one more time, too. I've got to get this in. Joe Bennett and the gang with Bennett Boys Auction Service, they're going to have a ripping good sale. The Southside Community Auction is going to take place at the Twin Falls County Fairgrounds over in Filer this coming Saturday at 10 o'clock starting time. It's going to be in the open area beside the rodeo arena, lunch by the Cook Shack. It's an open consignment sale, meaning that you better call and consign your items over the telephone, and I'll give you Joe's number. That's the easiest to remember, 539-0111. And they'll be taking items at the auction site today, tomorrow, and Friday. So don't forget, great big sale coming up this Saturday at the Twin Falls County Fairgrounds Southside Community Auction put on by the Bennett Boys Auction Service. No sale too big, no sale too small. The Bennett Boys, yep. They sell them all, so get on over there. Thank you. Call Joe, 539-0111. Next hour, we're going to go to the Fish and Game report. Now, I have not had a chance to visit it with anybody with a Fish and Game since January, because we went to Arizona in February, and this morning we're going to have the regional wildlife manager, and that's Mike McDonald. He's going to be on our program in just a very few minutes. As a matter of fact, I think he's already walked in the door and is sitting in my living room right now and waiting to come into the studio. So with that, we're going to say again a reminder, tomorrow is Lunch Bunch at Denny's at 11:30. Please be there and wear green. Wear green. The person with the most green on, I will personally buy their lunch. A lot of fun in commemoration of St. Patrick's Day, which was last Sunday. So we'll let it go at that and turn it over to the big boys at CBS right now. Wheels, it's all yours. Oh, and away we go. Hour number 3 on a day that I got to be really honest, I wished I wasn't sitting inside this office. I was outside enjoying the first day of spring 2019. And we're all set in just a moment to have with us the Fish and Game Report this month by Regional Wildlife Manager Mike McDonald. Mike has never been here before. He's nervous. If you call, be nice to him. He's a withering flower of about 6'9", 290 pounds, and be kind, please, if you would. Before we get started with Mike, I also want to remind you that for all your septic system problems, I know who you should call, and that's Dino's Septic Service. Oh, my goodness, septic tank pumping. A job you and I don't want to do. Backhoe services, sewer and sink drain lines clean, liquid waste removal, all of this and more by people that really do this job with a smile on their face serving you. Fast, fair, friendly service, Dino Septic Service. Numbers to call, 436-6526 or in Burley, 678-1638. Call them today. The very best serving you with, like I said, that big truck that has a sign on it that says, smells cargo on the way, Dino's Septic Service. Well, we go from septic services to the Fish and Game. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning. I'm fine. Thanks for having me.
You know, you were kind of thrown into this job today, if you will, by Craig White. He said you're going to be the man, and you are the Regional Wildlife Manager. What does that mean?
Well, I lead the wildlife program for the Magic Valley region. We're one of 7 administrative regions in the state. And,
okay.
I'm the manager of the wildlife program. I have 4 biologists and a couple of technicians that I supervise. Yeah.
So what's a day in the life of a regional wildlife supervisor? Are you out in the field about 90% of the time? Really, are you checking on things? What do you do?
No, it's a large part, a lot of administrative responsibilities.
Really?
The way I look at it, my job is to make sure that the folks that I work with, have the equipment, the materials, the supplies, the direction to go out and do wildlife field work.
Okay, now when you send people out that are under you for wildlife field work, what does that mean?
So right now, one couple of big things are going on right now. As part of our annual deer and elk monitoring program, we trap and radio mark a certain number of fawns, elk calves,
right,
female deer, does, and cow elk. And part of that monitoring is we're trying to get an idea of what annual survival is. So anytime one of those radios starts going on mortality mode, we deploy folks to the field to try to determine the cause of mortality, etc.
Now, you apply these radio monitors to the wildlife,
yes,
right?
Yep.
That's not an easy job, is it?
No, it's not. It's a pretty big program. We do it statewide. It's part of the statewide mule deer and elk monitoring program. It is expensive. It's a big job. It can be slightly dangerous because we use helicopters.
Slightly is not a good word.
It's not a good word, particularly in the wildlife field. But yeah, we do use aircraft to help us trap and radio mark mule deer and elk every year.
Mike, and a lot of people will say, well, you just mentioned it's expensive. Why do we have to pay for that? But really it helps all the sportsmen and the economy of the state of Idaho, does it not?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a little bit biased, but I don't think I'm too far off the mark. We in Idaho probably have the most progressive mule deer and elk monitoring program in the West.
Really?
Yeah.
Of all the states?
Yeah. We do an exceptional job of monitoring the trends and populations of mule deer and elk in Idaho.
With the increase, abundance of people that are coming into the state of Idaho, and it's all of a sudden kind of a not so well kept secret anymore, we're seeing the population grow, and that's a big infringement on how you manage wildlife, I'm sure. Or am I stepping in the wrong puddle of water here?
No, you're spot on. Idaho is one of the fastest growing states in the nation. I believe Boise is maybe the fastest growing city. A lot of those folks are coming to Idaho because of the resources that Idaho offers, the rural landscapes, the abundant public land, abundant fish and wildlife resources. So that definitely has implications for what we do.
Now, you said there's 7 people, including yourself, that are wildlife managers for the Fish and Game.
There are other wildlife managers.
Regional.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you all get together at various times of the year and discuss perhaps problems up in the Boise area, Idaho Falls, Coeur d'Alene, and that, and try to compare notes to see what better can be done?
Yeah, we try to get together every year as managers as well. Also, some of our bureau staff. We have an annual coordination meeting. I believe last year we were up in Region 1.
Yeah.
Comparing notes, what works, what doesn't work, what issues is everyone having, trying to figure out ways to address those issues. And we also stay in constant communication.
I would say that with the influx of people and the expansion of humanity, let's just call it what it is, that habitat for wildlife is something that is on a diminishment, and it's kind of hard to manage, isn't it?
Well, yeah, we as an agency, we don't necessarily manage habitat. We do.
No, but it's an encroachment on the habitat.
Absolutely, it is. So, we have an individual in the regional office, our staff biologist that works almost exclusively on land and water use issues in the region. Yeah. We try to inform decision makers, and hopefully when they make decisions, they They give fish and wildlife consideration in those decisions.
Mike, over the years of doing this program with all the different people with the Fish and Game, I've learned a lot. And I've learned that there were concerns about habitat and the diminishment of habitat, whether it was weather conditions or whatever. What's it like up in the South Hills area right now as far as the populations of deer and elk? I've heard good things.
That's good. Yeah,
what have you heard?
No, that's you're exactly right. Now we do monitor mule deer. We do surveys every 3 or 4 or 5 years. We'll do an actual census.
Right.
We radio mark does and fawns in the South Hills. Every indication is that mule deer are doing just fine in the South Hills. Elk, we don't really count elk in the South Hills.
May I ask why?
It's a giant area. There are a lot of elk, but not a lot of elk relative to the amount of land that they occupy.
I see.
And the other thing is, that's a herd that we share with Nevada and Utah. So, we like to count animals in the winter when they're congregated on winter range. Mm-hmm. And, down south, that winter range isn't necessarily in Idaho.
I see.
Yeah, so it's just kind of cost prohibitive. The area is so large, and those animals could very well be in another state, So basically, we manage elk down there based on harvest trends.
Is it safe to say that the numbers are on the plus side?
Yeah, definitely for elk.
Really?
For sure, yeah.
I'm going to ask you another question because I've had a confrontation with one of these about 4 years ago. It scared the bejeebers out of me, and that was moose.
Oh, yeah.
Moose numbers, what do they look like?
Man, moose are doing extremely well.
Up here?
Yeah, south of the Snake River. Well, actually, region-wide, which is a little bit of an anomaly in Idaho right now.
Well, they're not accustomed to being there, are they?
That's a fairly recent phenomena for those of you that have been around for a while.
Yeah, I'm a little long in the tooth myself. So,
moose started showing up, in this neck of the woods in the late 90s-ish, early 2000s, and since then the population has grown. It's expanded. We now offer moose hunting opportunities in the South Hills and some of the surrounding areas. So, yeah, moose are doing extremely well down south.
What is there about the South Hills that would create an indication that they want to move here and reside here? I mean, I'm surprised that the moose population is that big.
You know what? That's $1 million question, and I'm glad you brought that up. That's something that we hope to start evaluating here in the next year. Just what is it that makes the South Hills and some of that surrounding area really good moose habitat right now?
Really?
Yeah, we don't, I don't really have a great answer for you, but they are doing well.
They are an animal that one does not want to confront with.
Particularly a cow with a calf.
That's what happened to us. We have the pictures to prove it.
Yeah, they can become extremely, they can become a little bit aggressive, a little ornery.
Well, what about the staff? I mean, if they go out, and I'm jumping into things here this morning, and I apologize, but your people that are out there working, like up in the South Hills, and if they see a problem or they perceive a problem, what do you do then?
Well, it depends on the nature of the problem.
Yeah.
For us, one of the big things we would do is evaluate, the effects of hunting seasons and harvest. If it's something like that, if it's a habitat issue, we would certainly work with our sister agencies, BLM, Forest Service, try to make improvements in habitat. If it's a disease issue, that's a whole nother issue that we would address with our state veterinarians, et cetera. Yeah, it just depends. It depends on what the issue was.
Do you have like weekly meetings with your people that work under you to come in and say, well, we were up here and we noticed this, or we were over here and it looks like the current fawn crop is really doing well? I mean, do you get all that compilation weekly?
Yeah, is at least bi-weekly we try to do that.
I see.
Yeah,
I see.
Right now as we're transitioning out of winter into spring, we're going to start compiling some of that winter survival data, and that's information that we'll use. We'll continue to gather, and we'll use it during season setting, setting bag limits, hunting seasons, etc. So,
well, Mike, what about traveling up in the South Hills as far as on either a pickup on those old bumpy roads or a four-wheeler, etc.? Do you kind of legislate when and where they can go?
No, that's all. If it's public land, that's administered by that agency. So the Forest Service or the BLM. We do work with them on travel management planning, but they are the ones that have the decision-making power relative to travel on public land.
I see. Now, when I was talking to Craig, he mentioned to me that you've been with the department for 25 years.
Yeah,
roughly.
More like 32.
32. What changes, good or bad, have you seen with not just the fish and game, but the relationship of the person buying the hunting and fishing license versus what you do? Has there been a increase in compatibility, or do you seem like they're getting further apart?
Well, I'd certainly like to think that we have a pretty good relationship with our constituency. Interestingly, this winter we just went through our season setting for big game. And our public meetings, we had 4 of them around the region, and they were really, really well attended. Probably set a record for us. We had almost 400 people at our public meetings.
You're kidding me.
Yeah.
You got people to get up away from the lazy boy and come to a meeting?
It was great.
Ooh,
it was fantastic.
That's great.
And there was a great opportunity there to mingle with a lot of people, to answer questions, to listen to concerns. So I'd like to think that our relationship is pretty good right now.
Good.
And and generally, throughout my career, I think, the relationship has always been pretty good. Yeah, I've been in 3 different administrative regions. Been in the Magic Valley by far the longest. But our relationship here with our sportsmen in this region have always been, I think, pretty positive.
Mike, I don't mean to bring up subjects that maybe you don't want to discuss or take the time this morning. I know you've got a list that you want to get into here in a moment, but regardless of whether it was Mike or Kelton or you or anybody or Craig, we've talked about these subjects on my program before. One of the things that just absolutely makes my skin crawl and makes me so bitter are the poaching aspects that are in our hunting and fishing. I mean, people that have to poach, I just don't think the laws are tough enough against them. Your response?
Yeah. That'd probably be a question better for Josh Royce, our regional conservation officer. The laws and the rules, they kind of are what they are right now.
But it's just such an absolute waste that takes away from other sportsmen that are legal.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's game, fish or game that could otherwise be reserved for someone that was doing it lawfully.
Is the problem exacerbated to the point where it's getting larger, or are you getting a handle on it?
Well, we have a fairly large and extremely professional and dedicated law enforcement component to the region. Those men and women work extremely hard. With the resources that they have, even though we do have a good staff, a fairly large staff, it's a huge administrative region. We are the second largest administrative region in the state.
Where does it go? Give us the parameters on that.
So the Magic Valley region, Region 4, we go from Galena Summit down to the state line. West to Mountain Home, east to American Falls.
Oh, my.
Yeah, it's a giant area.
And how many people are serving that area?
Law enforcement officers, I believe, oh, my goodness, I'm going to get this wrong and I'll be criticized for it, but somewhere around 12 or 13
in
officers.
That area?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of miles.
It is a lot of miles. And,
And you say it's the second largest in the state?
Second largest administrative region. It's the single largest region served by one office.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, what about some of the items you brought with you wanted to discuss today? I'll let you kind of quarterback that and throw it at us.
Well, you mentioned it is spring. First day of spring. Want to remind folks, if you put in for a controlled turkey hunt or a spring bear hunt, that those results are out. They're online. You can go to our website and figure out whether or not you drew, you could also call the regional office, and we could look it up for you.
What are the seasons on that, by the way?
Turkey seasons, they're going to be opening here really quick.
That's
first week in April.
Yeah. And what about the bear?
Oh, my goodness, all those hunts are in western Idaho.
Okay.
I'd have to look at the
Do we have, Mike, any bear up here in the South Hills? Somebody called me about, I think it was 1st of March, or end of February, one of the two. And they said, yes, they had spotted a bear.
Yeah, we do have infrequent.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're infrequent visitors to the South Hills, as near as I can tell.
Rambling from point to point.
Probably young bears. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Now, are these what type? Black, brown?
Yeah, they're all black bears.
Black bears.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so an infrequent visitor, but they do show up from time to time.
Okay, but the season, is that season also if you see one up there?
No, there's no black bear season down there.
Okay, and it's only in a confined certain area?
Yeah, the controlled hunts that I was alluding to are mainly in western Idaho. Most of our bear hunting opportunity is over the counter.
I see.
Yeah, it's all over the counter here in the Magic Valley region. We're kind of on the fringe of good bear habitat in Idaho.
What consists of good bear habitat?
Being wetter, moisture.
Really?
Berry crops, grass crop, things like that. Yeah,
all right. So. We have a caller for you with a question. Caller, go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Okay, I'm very fascinated. In the South Hills, south of the interstate, we have black bears. You say they travel? They're infrequent, but they travel. They come from. Where do they come from? How do they get out across all this farm ground?
Well, the answer's obvious. They rented a car in Salt Lake City, Randy. What's the matter with you? Okay, go ahead. Answer the question.
That's a great question, and I'll be honest, it's speculation on my part. You know, the nearest occupied bear habitat we have is north of the river, the Bennett Hills, for example.
North of the river. Okay.
Yeah, so north of King Hill. Could be young.
Well, are they coming south? Then you're saying
that's just totally a guess on my part. They could.
I'm kind of like Randy. I mean, I haven't driven down 93 or the interstate and said, "Oh, there's another bear coming through."
Well, we had bears in cornfields north of Jerome a couple of years ago.
I didn't know that.
So bears are especially young bears, striking out on their own, looking for their own.
And is there a certain time of the season that you notice them?
They're going to be dispersing in the spring, early summer.
Really?
Yeah.
They left that warm little hole and they're out there just...
Well, Mom probably got tired of them hanging around because she has a new cub to take care of.
But Randy's question was straight on with what I was thinking, too. I mean, man, you'd think you'd see more sightings.
Yeah. Like I said, we do get reports. We do actually get photos on occasion. But it's really infrequent.
Wow.
Yeah.
And those seasons, you said, are turkey and bear are...
Spring seasons.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
What else have we got on the line here?
The controlled hunt application period for moose, sheep, and goat.
Ooh, yes.
Is going to be coming. It's coming up here really fast. Opens April 1st and runs through the 30th of April.
I've got to get in there.
There you go. You better put in for your South Hills moose tag.
Yes. I don't know. After my experience with my lovely bride and another good friend of us, ours, Dee Craner, when we had that meeting the moose literally head on at about maybe 20 feet, I don't want to go through that.
Who was more scared, the moose or you?
Well, let's just put it to you very nicely and succinctly that I have all my clothes cleaned at Daryl's Cleaners.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to tangle with a moose either.
But you're right, though. When you get in between those calves and that mama moose, not good things happen.
Very protective.
Yeah.
So just be aware.
Yeah.
Be aware. Cut them a wide berth.
Yep. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. Also, this is pretty topical. Big game seasons have been approved by the commission. We are currently going over some of the final drafts of the rules booklets, the proclamations. They will be published online here sometime, probably within the next 2 weeks.
I was going to say, are they going to come out before people forget to go in and buy their tag on time?
Yeah, hopefully the actual booklet, the proclamation, will be on the shelves at all our vendors by mid-April.
Okay.
And then the controlled hunt period is May 1st through June 5th.
June 5th.
For deer, elk, pronghorn.
It's the last date that little old Chubby Zeb can get in there and get his work done on buying the tag, right?
That's
yeah. The license,
yeah. Putting in for your controlled hunt.
Right,
yep.
right.
Yeah.
And then normally, when do they draw for that?
Well,
is it about
normally around the 4th of July?
A month
what
later,
we try to shoot for.
Okay,
yes.
okay. Now, are they sending out cards of notice, or do they expect everybody to check in online?
Well, I'm not aware that we're going to be sending out cards. We might be doing some mass emails.
Didn't they send out cards in the past, though?
They may have. May have. It'll be on all types of social media, Facebook, etc., our website. So, let's see. We have some shrub plantings coming up here in the region.
Oh, that's where you invite volunteers.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anyone is interested, I encourage you to call the office, ask for Mark Fleming or Brandon Tees.
Okay, we'll talk more about that in just a minute and other issues that you have on your list. But right now, we're going to take a little break, and we've got to send it over to our main studio for about 3 minutes, and we will be back with more with Mike McDonald with the Fish and Game in just a few minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. And we're back on the air with Mike McDonald, and he's the Regional Wildlife Manager of the Idaho Fish and Game. Your calls are welcome and appreciated if you want to visit with Mike. And give us a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Mike, we were talking about shrub planting, and that's really important. Explain why.
Well, most of the shrub plantings that we take part in are plantings in places where we've experienced wildfire.
Right.
And we tend to like to focus these shrub planting efforts in places where that provide pretty important wildlife habitat, whether it's mule deer winter range, sage grouse breeding and nesting habitat. Those are the areas that we like to focus on.
How did the shrub planting go, and how is it growing up in the King Hill area?
It's ongoing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's ongoing. I believe they just wrapped up a big 5-year project, multiple conservation partners, federal agencies, state government involved in, and they put hundreds of thousands of shrubs out.
Now, how do you go about getting people to come out and help you? I mean, it's just solicitation of volunteers, etc.?
Yeah, primarily.
And they can call the office.
Absolutely, they can, and we would love to have you out there.
Okay, and you supply filet mignon sandwiches and everything?
Yeah. Hopefully, Mark's listening, so he knows. I'm going to raise the bar a little bit here.
Okay, when are you going to be doing this?
So we have one coming up Saturday. I know it's short notice, but we have one coming up Saturday. We'll be planting shrubs down on the southeast corner of Jim Sage Mountain.
Okay.
The Connor fire burned up some pretty important sage grouse and mule deer winter range. And that's coming up this Saturday, March 23rd. Call the office for all the details, meeting locations, etc.
324-4359.
Yep.
Got it memorized.
Yep. And then we have 5 other plantings coming up this spring, and they're kind of scattered all across the region.
So the list will be over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll be able to let you know.
All right.
And we'd love to have you.
One thing that I have never done since I moved here in 1969, I have never sat on a rock, freezing cold, with water dripping off of my nose and other extremities, steelhead fishing. I've never found the fun in that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to admit, I do like...
Your eyes just lit up like a cheap slot machine in Vegas. Holy cow. You really like that, don't you?
Yeah, I really do. You know, I don't profess to be a very good steelhead fisherman by any stretch of the imagination, but one thing I do love about steelhead fishing.
What constitutes being a good steelhead
I don't
fisherman?
know. There's some people that just have a knack for it. I don't. I haven't caught very many steelhead in my life.
Really?
But the few that I have caught, it is it's an unparalleled kind of experience.
Why do you say that? I mean, what's it like?
They're big, powerful, jumping, running, and they're really good, by the way.
Yeah.
Good to eat.
but you're sitting on this rock, and it's cold.
Oh, yeah.
It's
yeah,
cold.
It can be.
Yeah, and you're wondering why you fill in the blanks you're sitting there.
Yeah, so I mentioned, the fishing part for me it's important, but the thing I like most about steelhead fishing is the time of year. It's spring or fall, and the setting. Some of the most beautiful places in Idaho, Chalice, Salmon area, that's where I fish.
Well, steelhead fishermen, everybody I've talked to, they share the same volition that once you're hooked, you're hooked.
I am.
And there's got to be some main reason. I mean, is it the equipment? Is it trying to retie all the knots with frozen fingers when you lose your tackle on a rock? Or what is it? Come on, Mike.
For me, it's literally, it's about getting out, number one. Getting out of the office, getting out, camping with friends and family. It's about the setting. I mean, truly, some of the most beautiful places in Idaho are places where we have steelhead.
Well, as big as you are, why don't you just forego the hooks and the rod and jump in and catch them with your bare hands, for heaven's sake?
I'd probably sink.
What? Now, the water, you sink nothing. Now, the water, how deep of water are you talking about?
Oh, man. It depends on what kind of fishing you're doing. I mean, most of what I do, I fish flies and I'm fishing holes.
Really?
Places where
let it
steelhead
float
like to come
down there?
Yep, drifting through. Yeah.
And then you're sitting there after being there for like 6 or 7 hours, your body is completely numb, and then all of a sudden this 20-pound steelhead hits you.
Yeah, something like that. That would be, for me, I've never quite experienced it that way, but for me it's a lot of work for not very many fish, but
really,
I have caught some, and it's a rush.
So you're telling me that on your day planner it says Riggins, Idaho, and you're gone.
You know what? I have not fished Riggins. I have not fished the Clearwater. All my fishing has been in the Salmon Chalice area.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I have literally driven through Riggins and had to pull over to the side of the road. I was infatuated with seeing the numbers of people that were either on the riverbank or in the river.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's a big industry in Idaho.
Really?
Steelhead and salmon fishing. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and along those lines, I want to, if folks haven't heard, we did get our, the state did receive their take permit for steelhead. So if you remember, there was a lawsuit, and as part of the compromise, there were a couple of sections of steelhead water that were closed to fishing. All of that is gone now.
Good.
And we're back to restrictive regs because the run is down, but fishing is normal.
Dumb question, how do you know the run is down?
Here again,
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
I'm outside, kind of outside my wheelhouse here, but they are continuously monitoring fish passage at some of the lower dams on the Columbia.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
So, and they know over time, based on the return over those dams, what percentage of those fish are likely to come back to Idaho.
What is a good size steelhead? I mean, if you're going out after a lunker, what are you going to try to catch?
The biggest fish I ever caught was...
Don't ask me that same question.
It was a
please.
wild male. He was over 30 inches long.
Oh.
I didn't really take him out. I didn't take him out of the water. Got a quick measurement on him. He was over 10 pounds.
And they put up a pretty good fight.
I thought I snagged a log.
No kidding. Now, do they come out of the water do they do? Okay.
Yeah, just like a rainbow. Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
And then you light up like a Christmas tree.
It's a lot of fun.
Okay. What are the dates of the season?
Oh, season
I didn't mean to put you that spot either. Your eyes went whoop.
Oh, Oh, crime.
Well, let's just say it's in the spring and it's coming
open.
up.
It's open right now.
It's open right now. Yeah. And you've made plans to leave.
Yeah, well, yeah, easier said than done, but yes.
Craig, if you're listening, he's gone. Okay. Hey, let's talk about another issue that has been in the news a lot the last few years, and that's the sage grouse.
Sure.
What do you got cooking there?
Well, springtime is the time of year where we do a lot of our sage grouse monitoring. Sage grouse they're a lekking bird. The males and females congregate in common areas. The males display.
Kind of like an old beer pub back in the 60s.
There you go. That's exactly right. Yeah, so one of the things that we do as part of our monitoring program is we count those areas. We count those leks. And
how do you find them?
Well, sage grouse, some of these things are historical. They've been there for 30, 40 years.
They return.
Yeah. They, as long as nothing really changes on the landscape, habitat-wise.
I didn't know that.
They'll come back to the same areas. The other cool thing about sage grouse, you can actually get in a helicopter and you can see them from the air.
You can see it that far down?
Yeah, you can see them from the air, and that's another way that we identify new leks. But a lot of what we do is ground-based monitoring.
Wow.
So getting up at ODark 30 and driving out there.
Yeah, Kelton invited me one time to do that, and I very politely said, well, never mind, I just said no.
It's I'll tell you what, everybody should try to do it at least once.
That's what he said.
Yeah,
we have a caller with a question. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Well, I'm calling back, and this is kind of off the subject. But
Randy, I'm going to have to ask you to speak up just a little bit so we can hear you good. For some reason, you're not coming in very well. Go ahead.
This is something, when we talk about sage grouse, we're trying to, worried about whether or not we're going to list them on the endangered species, which is going to affect farming and ranching in a very bad way. And I think it's unnecessary. But when we talk about what environmentalists want, and they want to put in more pinwheels, turbines, and they want to put in more solar-powered plants. And they say that when a bird flies over a solar farm, that it literally can disintegrate it in the air because of the heat is so intense. And they say that birds are chopped up by these turbines, these pinwheels, till hell won't have it. And you see, we don't care about that part because the environmentalists want that stuff. But we're going to say the sage grouse and affects farming and ranching. Thank you.
I appreciate your remarks, Randy. I really do. And Mike, respond to that if you would, please.
We, the state, the Fish and Game Department, we don't want to see sage grouse listed either. I mean, nobody wins if that happens. That's right. So, that's part of the reason why we take our sage grouse monitoring responsibilities so seriously.
And we just had a story on prior to you, I don't know if you heard it or not, when it was on the air with the Pacific Legal Foundation, that there were various agencies that had tried to circumvent Congress regarding the sage grouse and the issues, and they got their fingers slapped pretty hard because they were doing things illegally without asking, first of all, permission from Congress. So, and that applied to what's happened up here on the Tuga Ranch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, I guess I'm not really up to speed on that particular issue.
But what you said, their compatibility. Everybody needs to work together and not just have a discerning factor that says you're out.
Well, and the caller was right. Recently there has been a fairly substantial push for alternative forms of energy, for example. And you can see it right out your window over here. The wind turbines on the beach.
I don't want to see it out my window.
Alternative energy's been a big issue in the region. We now have wind turbines scattered from east to west. We also have some solar facilities that have been permitted by individual counties. It's all about location. From our perspective. And
I think I'll just sum it up by saying this, and I've got to go to the weather forecast. we will rue the day. I'll just let it go at that. Ladies and gentlemen, time for our weather, and we'll have more with Mike in just a moment. Don't forget Scarrows Meats, Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, my goodness, all those delicious meats. Check it out on their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Marinated pork ribs. It's time to think about grilling time outside, and all the tri-tips and the breakfast sausages and the bacons and the bratwurst. Love those bratwurst. Get a soft sourdough bun, onions, and cheese. Oh, boy, look out, good eating. All of these meats from Scarrows Meats. Call them at 324-7657. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
What's going to be like for the first day of spring and for the supermoon tonight? Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting sunny skies today. A little bit of a breeze out of the east, right around 10 miles an hour. Gusts as high as 22 miles an hour. Sunny skies, expecting a high of 61. Tonight, partly cloudy skies with a low of 32. By tomorrow, clouds are going to be rolling into the valley, expecting a high of 57. And then for tomorrow night, 20% chance of showers before midnight. Mostly cloudy skies with a low of 34. As we take a look at the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we do have a slight chance of rain showers in the forecast, mostly in the afternoon. Clouds will be sticking around. Winds are going to be picking up just a little bit, and we do have a 30% chance of rain showers in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the mid-50s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, and 43 degrees outside right now at the Murtaugh Weather Center. And our weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, with Don Scarrow and the crew, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Scarrows Meats. One other subject I wanted to get into before we run out of time is trapping. Kind of the Jeremiah Johnsons out in the audience. Is trapping kind of making a resurgence?
You know, I don't know that it's necessarily making a resurgence. I think it's definitely holding its own. You know, we have a pretty active trapping community here in the Magic Valley region. We have pretty good fur bearer resources in the region. So,
do we have a lot of problems that need to be corrected by trapping, i.e., skunks and that type of thing?
Yeah, occasionally, you know.
Do we?
We do have nuisance.
Well, the reason I asked that is I had a vet on not too long ago. He was talking about leptospirosis, which is a disease that is contaminated with the urine, perhaps on cat food and other things that could be transmitted to, and raccoons, that could be transmitted to human beings. And I was just wondering how big the problem with raccoons and skunks is this year.
You know, it so far, I mean, it's early spring. Right about now is the time when we start to get, you know, requests for assistance, technical assistance, etc. with nuisance.
What's the best way and the least smelly way to trap a skunk?
You figure that out, and you can retire.
Okay. I wouldn't want your job.
You know, we don't actually do a lot of that ourselves, but we do have materials we make available, traps, etc., for folks to handle some of their own issues.
Trapping itself, now, I understand that there has been seminars or are seminars at the Fish and Game. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. There is a requirement now for trapper education. So we have an active trapper education program. We have multiple instructors that work in the regional office. We have 3 or 4 guys in the office that are active trappers, and they're really good at it, and they're really passionate about it. They do a great job with the education side of it, and yeah.
Is there any net gain, perhaps, to not only learning trapping, but also some of the critters that are caught that might be good for their pelts, etc.?
Yeah, you're talking about, you know, one of the most popular species to trap for in this area are bobcat.
Really?
And they are, you know, the pelt, depending on the quality of the pelt, can be pretty valuable.
And they're pretty abundant?
Yeah, bobcats, you know, unfortunately we don't have a great way to census bobcats. But, you know, we do pretty healthy bobcat populations, and pretty highly sought after by the trappers in the region. Yeah,
Mike, one of the questions I didn't ask earlier, and I meant to, is that we've seen a relaxing of the restrictions on wolf hunting, and they're no longer on the pedestal of being highly protected.
Right.
I would imagine, I'm making an assertion here that maybe I'm wrong, that you kind of breathed a sigh of relief and said, finally, it's going to make your job a lot easier.
Well, I certainly did. They're now managed as a big game animal, just like deer, elk, lions, bear, and that's the way they should be managed. And we do have.
What is the season on them?
So we do have a hunting season. We also have a wolf trapping season. This year, as part of our big game season setting, trapping opportunities were expanded in southern Idaho for wolves on private property only. But you can trap upwards of 10 wolves, I believe, every year. We're kind of on the fringe of wolf habitat.
Well, let me add this and tell me if I'm wrong. I think the numbers in the state of Idaho, and I'm not trying to act like a know-it-all on this, but I've worked with a lot of people that really, really studied the numbers in the state. And I think the numbers by environmentalists were minimized, to say the least. And you, as the Fish and Game, you were caught between a rock and a hard spot. And I think now, knowing that you've got to administer so many numbers, many numbers, so that we don't see the same problem that started in the early 90s exacerbate itself and come back. Am I right?
No, you're absolutely right. There are some minimum targets that we want to stay north of.
Right. Yeah.
And and right now, with the current management, current hunting season, trapping frameworks, we're able to do that.
Have you, with boots on the ground, seen quite a few of the wolves?
Most of the times, most of the wolf observations that we make are from the air when we're doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when we're doing big game counts, for example, flying winter range. Wolves, if they're going to follow big game to places where big game concentrate. So.
Well, there again, I'll ask the same kind of a question as we were talking about the bears. I've heard reports about wolves being in the South Hills. I claim myself to have seen tracks that would be wolf tracks when I was up there. Am I wrong?
No, I wouldn't say you're wrong. I couldn't disprove that. We do get reports. Unlike the black bear sightings, we've yet to have anyone produce
a picture.
But it's definitely not outside the realm of possibility.
Okay,
for sure.
Do you have anything else you want to bring up to us this morning? I think you had some other things on your list.
Oh, just a couple of quick things. Trapping. We were talking about trapping. The beaver, muskrat, and mink closes at the end of the month. Mountain lion take ends the end of this month as well.
The end of this month.
End of this month.
And there's quite a few cats up in the South Hills.
Yeah, cats appear to be doing extremely well in Magic Valley right now. Yeah.
We have a caller with a question. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, speak up, please. You're on. Thank you.
Yes. So I've seen 2 black wolves up here in the hills below us or above us. So I guess my question is do we no longer have to shoot, shovel, and shut up, or what's that deal?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to have him answer that on the air if you don't mind, sir. Thank you very much. I appreciate that call. What is the rule or regulation if they're bothering livestock? Well, go ahead, Mike. Explain it.
So if they're in the act of you have a right to protect private property.
Exactly.
Okay. So, and if you do have observations south of the Snake River, we would love to see a picture, etc. We now have trapping on private property south of the Snake River, and so no, the days of shoot, shovel, and shut up aren't needed anymore.
Okay,
just make sure you have a wolf tag in your pocket.
There you go. Okay, or quiet neighbors. I've got to pay some bills here real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Don't forget the big spring tire sale at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Holy moly, this is a big, big event for them and for you. You can save a lot of money on getting the tires for your car, pickups, and SUVs, like the Eclipse tire for your car, or the best, the Ultra Z900, or for your pickups and SUVs, the Open Country HT or the Open Country AT2. All of this and more on sale at all 7 locations, along with the best, underline that, the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. All of this at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Well, we have had an interesting conversation with a gentleman that's never been on this program before, and we certainly hope he will consent to come back in the future, and that's, of course, the Regional Wildlife Manager for the Idaho Fish and Game, Mike McDonald. Any final thoughts? I've got about 30 seconds.
No, nothing right now. I really appreciate the opportunity to come over. Hopefully I can make it back.
I hope so, too.
Yeah.
And we'll have more discussion. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike McDonald with the Idaho Fish and Game as the Regional Wildlife Manager. And that's going to take us right up to the end of this trail ride. We're going to unsaddle the horses until tomorrow morning at 8:06 and then be ready to go again. And this is Zeb at the Ranch, where we always end the program by saying the way things were, the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.